Hi, my name is Daniel Anderson, and I want to present to you the research topic that I've been developing over the course of the semester. So, my research topic is how a supportive teacher relationship can affect a student's academic performance in the elementary level, as well as their um, emotional and ethical learning. So, throughout the course of the semester, that was the topic that really I was drawn to because I noticed firsthand when I shadowed at Harwell Elementary and when I was a trainer at Rancho, a therapeutic writing center that I worked at for a long time, that when students had this trust for their mentor, for their teacher, and they had a positive relationship with them, and the teachers like were happy to be there, and they exuded this positivity, and uh, that the students were way more willing to learn, that they were more engaged, that they were willing to take more risks and do hard things, which is what we want as teachers. And I also saw the opposites, teachers that were really harsh and that were not very positive and created this environment that was untrustworthy, not good to be in. The students didn't engage with them very much, and it was hard for them to have any sort of disciplinary control of the classroom or just pull the engagement and make the students participate with the content at all. I'm tying this back to the content through Bronfenbrenner's ecological systems theory. That system talks about how when a child develops, they're a factor of everything around them, not just one thing or another. You can't say like, oh, this kid is this way because of this thing. It's like that's a little too easy. It's a system of their parents and their peers and their teachers, and since teachers are such a big role in a child's development, I think that that's a good tie-in, a good way to look at that. So throughout the this course, I looked at a lot of research for this topic. When I was approaching the research, I was just trying to see, is this relationship just something I noticed? Like, is it just something that I saw in a couple classes that I was in, but it's not generally um, that recognized? And what I found is it's actually very recognized. There's plenty of research talking about how positive student teacher relationships affect in um, a higher quality in performance. So a lot of the research that I was looking at was quantitative, and that's okay. I think that's a really good way to look at this material in general. Um, but the things that they were looking at, like one of the main research was looking at grades, like how are the grades of the students comparatively to how they respond to being um, or how they respond to saying like they have a good relationship with the teacher or not a good relationship with the teacher. And then another research within that same or another paper within that like same research was talking about engagement. So it was looking a little bit less about grades and a little bit more about how students are actually engaging with the content. And so we have a bunch of this research that I think makes a lot of sense. They're using these these verified surveys to give to both students and to teachers so that they can note give a corresponding variable to an outcome, right? So they're saying we have all this data talking about their grades and their performance and their engagement and their behavior, and then they're tying that back to those same students and those same teachers talking about how they feel about each other and the relationship that they have. And that's where we see those trends, the teachers and students who say like they have a good relationship, that they're positive, that they trust each other, they have typically better performance in in their behavior, in their grades, in their engagement. So which and comparatively the students and teachers who rated lower in that scale did not quite have the same quantitative results that come out of it. I think that these research papers were done really well, and I like the quantitative method in which they performed them. I think one variable is missing. Like if I'm going to talk about a like a missing section in the research gap is that I think a lot of the variables are correlating. Like I think that there is an overarching sense of just like student confidence in the classroom that is instilled by a teacher giving them that confidence in the classroom. Which can be happen through a whole sort of different methods: how they set up the classroom, how they engage with their students on a one-to-one, and how their demeanor is in general, and their teaching style. Like there's a lot that goes into how you can instill a student's confidence in the classroom. But I think being more engaged, taking more academic risks, like putting yourself out there, and behaving better, is not necessarily a like an outcome of just the relationship. I think that the teacher is fostering this confidence within the students, and that these are traits that are stemming from the students having a higher confidence in the classroom, that they're feeling more capable. And I think that the students react this way when they feel more capable, when they feel more confident with their in the classroom, and I think that's facilitated by the teacher. But a student who's not confident in the classroom is not going to be confident in the material. So I think it kind of goes into each other. So if I were to do this project myself, like initiate this research, I think that I'm starting in a really good place because most of the research has been developed so expertly that I don't need to reinvent the wheel. I think that this my project would be a really good stepping stone on these aforementioned research papers. I would simply add, I want to make sure that in these surveys that we're giving these teachers and these students, that we're also looking at the confidence level. So we're not just pulling these correlated factors out of nowhere, but that we're tying them into maybe a broader feeling or a broader reason that these things are happening. So in order to do this project, the way I would do it is I would look at students between third and fifth grade, like 100 to 150 students, and I would work with them and their teachers with these surveys. And the surveys would be measuring things about the students, their engagement, their grades, their behavior, but as well as how confident they feel in the classroom, how confident they feel with the material, how confident they feel talking to their teacher, like if they feel like they could ask questions, if they feel like they could really put themselves out there in the classroom. So, in order to make sure that we're doing this research assignment correctly and ethically, first I would run this through Wayland Baptist University. I would want to make sure that they approve it, and whatever they'd want to tweak, I would make sure that I change that around before I started the project so that I'm following all the guidelines set by the university. And then I would also reach out to the school districts that I'm working with and ask them like if this is okay, and make sure that I'm within the bounds of the parameters that they're setting for me as well. And then all the students that would be involved, all the teachers that would be involved, I'd make sure that there's a consent form involved, specifically with the students, a parent consent form involved, and it'd be a completely optional study. Like not everyone would have to do it. So I make sure that the it's being performed ethically. And that being said, all the data would remain anonymous and completely confidential, so you don't have to worry about students' information getting leaked or teachers' information getting leaked, or that causing a problem. So we would make sure that it's very professional, very confidential, very anonymous, completely optional, and following all the parameters of both the school district and Wayland Baptist University. So to close off, I think that this would be an ideal way to take some of this research project that we've already looked at, talking about how a teacher's ability to instill confidence in their classroom and a teacher's ability to like present a positive environment can affect the outcomes of their students. And I think that this is a really good step forward, and I think it could be a good method of obtaining this data. Thank you.